My next guest takes on Dominic Garcia coming up here at LFA 29 this Friday. It is Alton Cunningham joining me here on the program for the very first time. Alton, how are you?
James, I'm good, man. I'm solid, man. Big fan.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of yours, too. It was great that we finally got to connect and do this interview. And I got to mention to our listeners, a rare occurrence. I actually met you in person a couple of weeks back in Detroit. For those who don't know, who were you there for at UFC 218?
I was actually there as a fan, just watching the fights. Me and my boy Peter, we went up there, stayed at the Fighter Hotel Thursday, Friday. Got to meet everybody, got to meet you. I was a fan. I saw you sitting down. You were, I think you were doing an interview or something. And I was like, oh man, that's James Lynch over there. But I was glad I got to meet you, man. That was cool. That was solid.
Yeah, no, I actually remember seeing you. I was doing work in that Starbucks there because the Wi-Fi in that hotel was amazing. My Wi-Fi in my hotel sucked, so I was trying to stay there as long as possible and get my interviews done. And we happened to see each other, and I figured you were, I'd like seen and heard about you a little bit, but I wasn't like 100% sure. So when you did the invite, I was like, whew. You sort of took away any awkwardness if I had, said something I didn't know who you were. So that worked out well. How was the card for you? Does that, seeing a card like that, does that kind of get you even more pumped up for your fight?
Well, I was actually at UFC 205, Madison Square Garden, and when I was there, it was like I didn't have my profile, so it's kind of like I was a fan, but I still took it in. You know what I mean? I was like, I want to be there. I need to be here. But Detroit, it hit me, man. You know what I mean? Like I was there, like looking at the cage, and it was just like, I will be here. I am going to be here. You know what I mean? And seeing all these fighters is like, why can't I be here? You know what I mean? So, and being 3-0, like I'm right there knocking on that door. You know what I mean? So just a few more wins, who knows?
I agree. You got the great record there in 3-0. Where did this sort of start as far as the beginning of you getting into combat sports? When did that sort of happen?
Actually, I grew up a pro wrestling fan. So growing up, I was a diehard pro wrestling fan. And, got older, freshman year, I think when Brock Lesnar got into the sport, it was like I started paying attention a little more. Then I saw this pudgy Russian named Fedor. And it was like, okay, all right, I want to try this out. And then, all throughout high school, I wanted to do it. Got out of high school, I had to have surgery because in football, and then after that, I started training MMA.
Cool. How was that transition from football to mixed martial arts?
I only did a year of football, so I knew right away that that's what I was going to do. Like, regardless, I was telling everybody in high school, that I was going to do MMA, But, it was fine. I did a year of wrestling, and growing up, like, I moved here from Memphis, Tennessee, Marion, Arkansas, in that area. I moved here when I was 9, so growing up there, it was rough. I had to fight all the time, Then going up here, and I didn't know anybody, so I kind of got picked on a little bit, so I had to kind of fight my way here. So like MMA was it was perfect.
Yeah, it was
what I mean?
Good outlet for you. And it's safe to say, Fedor was sort of a big influence for you as far as fighters that you like watching.
Oh yeah. Because you see him, he's like 220 pounds. He could be a middleweight, definitely a light heavyweight. He's fighting these big heavyweights. He's just whooping their butt. So it's like it's just kind of surreal. Like he kind of reminds me. My favorite wrestler is the Undertaker. So he kind of reminds me of the Undertaker a little bit because they both have that aura, that mystique about them. They both like just command respect, so, it was just like, all right, so that guy's he's definitely my idol. He's my hero.
I guess you never got to see him fight because I saw him this past June at the Bellator NYC show, and that was definitely like a highlight for me because you're right. No, Fedor has that aura. No one's like him. I think maybe Gegard Mousasi is another guy that's got that sort of very relaxed sort of aura where, it just looks like it's another day at the office. It's so rare to see that in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, and Gegard, he got that from Fedor because they used to train together a long, long time ago, so he got that from him, But no, I didn't get to see him fight, man. I actually fought on that day, June 24th. That was my birthday, and I ended up fighting that day, so I couldn't even watch him fight, and then he got knocked out, so I was like, crap, And then he's fought in Chicago a couple times, and I haven't been able to, so I'm hoping that fight with Frank Mir takes place in Chicago. If that happens, then I'm gonna shoot down there, hopefully, without a fight. So
good stuff, man. What do you do for work besides mixed martial arts? Like, what sort of pays the bills for you right now?
Honestly, right now, I quit my job, man. This is what I do full time. I was doing some side jobs here and there. But right now, this is what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it certainly worked out well for you. You're fighting for LFA. Honestly, as a prospect, you could not be in a better organization right now. How did this all come together with you competing for them?
Actually, so, I got a fight booked up for January 20th.
I was going to ask you about that later, but yeah, go ahead, yeah.
But my manager, Eric Anderson, he called me. They asked for a fight. Initially, they had another guy booked up, but that didn't work out. So, and they wanted to keep me on the card, so they started looking. They found Dominic, and it just made sense, you know what I mean? And I asked for the main card. You know, it's like the opportunity to compete for them, but not only compete, but to compete on the main card. You know what I mean? It was just surreal, man. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, I asked for it right away. I'm like, hey, you know, if I'm gonna fight for them, I want to be on the main card. I want to be on national spotlight. You know what I mean? Because these guys, they won't regret it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see my fighting style. You know what I mean? It just made sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get you. How do you feel like you match up against Garcia? He's got the 4-1 record.
Well, he's finished all his fights. He's a striker. I don't know. His style's kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like, I can't really like pinpoint what he does best. He definitely has a strong left hand. He fights with his hands down. You know what I mean? Which is, I mean, it's not going to be good. You know what I mean? If he comes towards me with his hands down like that. You know what I mean? And I'm a striker. You know, I finished all my fights. You know what I mean? And it's going to make for an epic finish.
And how's training camp going, and who are some of your main training partners you've been working with?
My training camp's going great. You know, I work with this heavyweight named Kalen Hall, my teammate John Jones, you know, my instructor Lawrence Pearson. You know, those three are like my main training partners. But yeah.
Very cool. And where are you training right now?
Perfect Moves Martial Arts.
Cool. Like
kind of it's in Madison here, Madison, Wisconsin. It's kind of a smaller gym. You know what I mean? We're kind of under the radar.
But that's
like
good. That's why you got to give the plug there, you know. So now someone's watching this, and then, you know, down the line they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, that gym. There you go."
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about. How about the weight cut? You know, you mentioned being in Detroit, you know, a week or two ago. I imagine you tried to stay away from some of that bad food that's out there. There's a lot of good restaurants in Detroit. I should know firsthand. So.
You know, we walk down the street and there's Coney Island right there. You know, you just kind of look at it like, oh, you know what I mean? But, you know, like my weight cut's going fine right now. I'm probably like, I just weighed myself this morning. I was 197, so I'm about 11 pounds. You know, I feel good. I'm hydrated. You know what I mean? Like I said, I got my tea. You know what I mean? So
green
I'm
tea?
good.
Are you a green tea guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Same here.
Tea. I like black tea, too. I got black tea in my counter up there. So I drink tea about 3-4 times a day.
Yeah, so underrated. I have tea usually every morning just because it gives you a nice kick, and I really find it like cleans out your system too. Like when you get up, you're not as congested. You know, it's the best.
It's a good diuretic. It's kind of a fat burner. You know what I mean? So.
Because when you think of tea, people think of like, I don't know, anyways, like British people sitting in like a library drinking, you know, like, but it's not like that. It's actually really useful. So props to showing that tea can be masculine. There you go.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
I can't drink coffee.
How do you see this fight ending coming up here at LFA 29?
I'll finish him in the first round.
Nice. You didn't even hesitate. You just know. You visualized it, I guess, you know, many times as far as how that fight's going to go down. You mentioned having the fight on the 20th in January. So if all goes well here and you win this fight, are you still going to take that fight? Is that still scheduled?
That's the plan. Like I said, you know, Dominic, I think his style is perfect for me to go in there and showcase my skills. You know what I mean? He's a striker. I'm a striker. What he does best, I do best. You know what I mean? I'm the bigger guy. I'm the stronger guy. I'm more athletic. I hit harder. He's never fought anybody like me. And if he comes forward with his hands down, I'm going to hit him, and he will drop.
Love it. So, I mean, do you have to sort of alter your training a little bit so you don't get burnt out? Because, I mean, back-to-back fights like that, I know can be pretty grueling on the body.
Not really. You know, like, for the most part, I stay in the gym. You know, I think it's more of just game planning. You know what I mean? Like, you know, with that being said, like I said with Dominic, man, I don't underestimate anybody. You know, and with this guy, you know, it's something to be said about a guy who's going to take time away from his family, from his job, to train for you, to take everything away from you. So with that being said, you know, the guy's going to come in there and take my head off. So I respect him. And then also, you know, to answer your question with Lozano, you know, I got that fight coming up. You know, once I go in there and I finish Dominic, you know, it's just a matter of just really getting back in training, just more focusing on game planning and adapting to his style, you know.
Absolutely. And of course, if you get the win here, you know, that'll be 4-0. Are you looking at sort of an LFA, you know, title shot, or are you looking at, you know, going the Contender Series or the UFC? I mean, because, again, middleweight, I think the timing for you is really good right now because middleweight's going through a bit of a, you know, an influx, especially in the UFC. And, you know, middleweights, there's a lot of prospects on the come up right now.
Well, I'm definitely going to ask for it, for sure. You know, was the LFA title fight. Mainly, I want that UFC shot. You know, I think they can bring me in right away. Really, I want to go in there and highlight this guy in the first round. Hopefully I get that call up for a January, February card, you know, to come in short notice, go in there and be one of those guys. But if it doesn't happen, whatever, I'll finish this guy, finish Lozano, be 5-0, wait around, get that LFA title fight or get that UFC title fight. You know, I think a perfect card would be, you know, if they got a card in Chicago, you know, with the UFC, you know, bring a big fan base down there, go in there and showcase my skills, you know.
Yeah, no, and it seems like the UFC is paying attention, especially to LFA in their middleweight division. I mean, we saw Trevin Giles get signed, we saw Eric Anders get signed, so you know, it's definitely a good sort of place to be as far as being a middleweight.
Gerald, he got signed too, you know.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, you're right about that as well. They do have the middleweight title fight coming up for LFA in January. It's going to be Brendan Allen taking on Anthony Hernandez. I don't know if you saw that, but you know, what are your thoughts on that fight? Who do you sort of see winning that matchup?
Brendan, he's going to get the call up, and then I'll come in and I'll take that belt. You know, whoever they match me up against.
Look at this.
Brendan, they're going to win that fight.
Mystic Alton right here. You should go buy a lottery ticket. So there you go. I like that.
I pay attention to those Rufus Sports guys, man. They're solid, man. You know, I actually thought about going. You know, I talked to Duke up there. You know, so I plan on going up there and doing a little cross training. So.
Oh man, you can't be at a better gym for middleweights as far as being up there, because Gerald's there, Biggie Rhodes. I mean, it's the luxury of being able to train with those guys is awesome. Before I let you go, what do you like doing on your downtime? You know, as far as you know, outside of training and everything like that. Are you watching Netflix? Are you playing video games? What would I find you doing? You know, outside the cage.
Well, mainly instead of Netflix, it's Amazon Prime, man. You know, I love Amazon. You know, I love my video games, Madden. You know, if you ever want to get that work in Madden, you know, I'll give you that work in there. You know what I mean? I spend time with my son Kane Leo, you know, and Eden. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I got a candy addiction, man. You know, it's bad, man. But yeah, man, you know, just hanging out with my friends. You know what I mean? Hanging out with everybody, you know.
What do you watch on Amazon Prime right now? Because you know, in Canada we don't have Amazon Prime. It's awful. Like, I have the Prime service, but I only get the good delivery. I can't even watch a streaming service. It's first world problems, man.
I was watching Power, but I'm waiting for that season. I'm waiting for season 5 to come back on. I was watching Empire, so I can watch all of Empire.
That's a good show.
Ray Donovan is a sleeper, man, on Showtime. That show is freaking badass, man. But, you know, mainly those 3 shows, and then watch some movies, whatever.
Good stuff, man. Well, I can't wait for this fight, man. LFA 29 coming up here December 15th. Just to remind people where they can get a hold of you on social media, and if you got any sponsors or shout-outs, the floor is yours, man.
Social media. I'm just going to do this right here. Facebook at altonthebowman.com. Instagram at the Bowman MMA. Snapchat at Alton C MMA. Excuse my handwriting right there.
No, it's good, man. It's perfect.
You know, and then my sponsors I had to write down, man, because I got so many. So bear with me for a second,
man. Go for it. You got plenty of time, man. This isn't the Academy Awards. I'm not going to start cueing in music or anything. You know, it's all good.
I got a lot. Shout out to my sponsors, Carbon World Health, 608 Motorsports. I'm actually rocking their shirt right now. Daly's Bar and Grill, Wando's, Clark's Tax Solutions, Mr. Rudd's Barbershop, Reese's Hair Salon, Press Pearland Krillers, Smart Cleaning Solutions, Ink Gun Clothing, RQ Roofing LLC, Great Dane Pub, Iron Quill Tattoo, Fitness Remedy, Pinecone DeForest Restaurant, and Combat Corner.